is not hot to touch. Then how do sweaters keep us warm? In a thermos flask, how do hot liquids remain hot and cold ones stay cold? How do animals in cold regions stay warm? And why do we use a cloth to roast rotis on a hot pan? The answer to all these questions is in insulation of heat energy. Heat, insulation. The movement of heat is continuous. But can we do something to slow down this continuous movement of heat energy from hot towards cold? Obstruct its path. Let's just say that it is to be imprisoned. We can definitely do it. Stopping or slowing down the movement of heat means insulation. The best example of this is a thermos flask. Today, let's understand heat insulation by making our own thermos flask. We need a big plastic bottle and a small one, aluminium foil, old newspapers, a rope or lace for a handle, scissors or cutter, and sellotape.
We shall make a thermos flask.
First, cut the big bottle like this. Then cut the lower portion into two parts. After cutting the bigger bottle into three parts, neatly wrap the small bottle in several layers of aluminium foil. Now wrap several layers of the newspaper over it. Wrap them tightly too. Now stick it well with the help of tape and decorate with any desired colored paper. You can also paint on it. Fit the smaller bottle, which is wrapped with multiple layers, into the bigger one in this manner. We know that if we fill ice-cold water in ordinary bottles during the summer season, it gets warm after a while. Heat from the surroundings enters the bottle and heats up the water. Be it hot water or tea, they become cold on their own. Heat from the hot tea goes to the cup and into the air. If a spoon is kept in the cup, heat goes into it too. The tea becomes cold. Its heat keeps moving out until the temperature inside the cup and outside it become equal. But what will happen in the thermos flask made by us? What has happened to the cold water poured in it almost an hour ago?
The cold water poured in it remains as cold as it was earlier.
The cold water remains cold, and if we had poured hot water, it would have remained hot. Why? Let's understand this because this is what insulation is. We wrap the inner bottle in multiple layers of aluminium foil, polythene and paper. The aluminium foil reflected the outside heat and prevented it from entering. Thus, radiation is stopped. The newspaper wrapped on the bottle stopped conduction and the lid stopped convection. The outside heat could not enter the bottle in any way. Cold water remained cold.
Even the heat from the sun would not affect it because it is wrapped in layers of newspapers. That is why cold water remains cold.
Exactly. Cold remains cold. Hot remains hot because heat insulation is taking place in the thermos flask made by us. The thermos flask available in the market is also like this. The thick outer plastic cover acts as a heat obstructor. The inner shiny refill reflects the heat and prevents radiation. Air is trapped between the outer plastic cover and the inner shiny refill of the thermos flask. And this still air also acts as a heat insulator. Another feature of the shiny refill inside is that it has a double glass wall. There is no air between the two walls, means vacuum. When the lid is closed tightly, It also acts as an insulator, stops convection. No conduction, no convection, no radiation. In our daily lives, we use heat insulation in many ways. There are so many examples in the kitchen. When we wear sweaters to avoid the cold, that is also heat insulation. Let's understand this through a game. The game of ice and blanket. Two identical blocks of ice in one room. The only difference is one block is wrapped in a blanket.
Ice is wrapped in a blanket.
The second block of ice is left open. Now, which block of ice will melt faster? An hour later, what has happened to the ice? The ice covered with a blanket did not melt at all, but the ice left open has melted.
This has remained as it is and this has melted. Entire ice was packed so it did not feel the heat.
The heat from the outside air could not reach the ice that is completely wrapped in the blanket. Air is trapped in the threads and multiple layers of the blanket, and such still air is a bad conductor of heat, means a heat insulator. This is how insulation took place. The outside heat could not go in and the ice remained cold and frozen.
This felt the heat while that one did not.
Sweaters and shawls are also like this. They are not warm themselves, but retain the heat of our body. The texture of the wool is such that air is trapped in its fibers. Heat insulation occurs. We stay warm when we wear a sweater. Animals have different ways to stay warm. Nature has provided insulation in many ways to animals in very cold places. Be it a whale, a walrus, a sea lion, or a polar bear. To retain body heat, animals like a whale have a thick layer of fat under their skin. It is called blubber. It acts as a heat insulator. By the way, we humans also have a thin layer of fat under our skin, and it also helps to maintain the temperature of our body. So, let's look at heat insulation one more time. Heat insulation means to slow down or prevent heat transfer. With heat insulation, we can keep hot things hot and cold things cold. Bad conductors of heat are good heat insulators. A thermos flask is a good example of heat insulation. Now think, why is a spacecraft that goes into space wrapped in shiny silver layers?